So it's Friday, March 15th, 2019, and there's been a development similar to an occurrence in one of my other videos, but once I start getting down to the final on my sister-in-law's e-bike regarding the pedal assist sensor, once I actually torqued everything down, everything just mashed together and it wouldn't work. So I had to basically do it the same way as I did on my brother-in-law's bike, but more similar to my bike, where you just simply drill a hole and put a rib nut in the frame, and then make a little bracket and bolt the pedal assist sensor on. This is just a broken pedal assist sensor I used to kind of mock it up, but her sensor's in a box, safe. But yeah, it works great. I use this tool, just a piece of wood, and then just hold it down and drill it in the center, and this is how it works. And there's a little bit of a wobble to it, but I mean way better than the others. And I actually ended up spacing it out with the little, I drilled it to where it doesn't, it sits on there, and I spaced it out from the bottom bracket with O-rings, and so that way it sits right there where it needs to be. And that'd be it. But yeah, so I just wanted to get that done tonight, because that was something that I just didn't want to take halfway through tomorrow, because I got some serious grinding to do on the little brace for the axle, and I'll show more on that tomorrow. So that's it for tonight. Out. So this is just a quick test of my new Canon 50mm STM lens, also known as the Nifty 50. And as you can tell, the clarity on this new lens is just stunning. The detail is remarkable, and the bokeh, the background, is what artists of photography strive for. And so we're just kind of doing a quick, and when I was taking this video, I basically had to delete the video because I was just saying how clear it was and wow, and that kind of stuff, and it was just kind of silly. So this is kind of an overdub and kind of a test of the new microphone, and so now we're getting really close to see what the clearance is on the pedal assist sensor, and as you can tell, it's perfect. And so this is just kind of wrapping up this section of the new test of the Nifty 50, and on to the next part of the video. Alright, so it's Saturday, March 16th, 2019, and we're on to a serious day of filing and grinding. It's going to be, as they say, a grind. What we have to do is make one of these. One of those. And what that does is that keeps the axle from turning in the dropouts or breaking the dropouts, or I would have to say maybe even the axle, because that's like hardened steel. And these things they're pushing a lot of weight and they have a lot of torque, so you have to have something like this to brace it. And it's a handmade, hand bent, hand ground thing. There's no easy way around it. You want to do it right the first time. I don't even want to think about having to redo one of these. I haven't had to do one yet, knock on wood. But so there's the axle. That's what it's got to bolt onto. I got this up here kind of simulating where it's going to bolt onto. It can't go past this line because that's where the kickstand is. So I think I'm going to put a piece of tape there, but that doesn't look as pretty as that. So it's got to be there. And so here's the piece of steel that you start with. It's 3/16 inch thick by 2-inch carbon 1095 carbon steel, and I already got kind of where the axle is going, and got the center punch. I know that's soft center, it doesn't matter as long as it works. And so I'm gonna go drill this thing, and then the next video you'll see is it fitting on the axle as far as the slot goes. And boy, it's going to take at least a couple hours, and I'm not. Oh, it's a late start. My thumb's still jacked up. We'll just see how far we can get, but I'm not going to break any records. There's still snow on the ground, so we'll see. Okay, so it's about an hour later, and I got the slot filed in. It's not my best work, but it's not going to be a problem. I mean, so, you know, here's a, you know, washer that came, you know, factory. So, I mean, it isn't like it isn't, it's about the same amount of plate as that. I mean, that's what I used as a template. So, I mean, what do you expect? So, and then I made sure I got the hole, you know, lined up and where I wanted. And then I just rubbed it with a Sharpie, and then took a screw and scratched it. And really tiny little marks, but then I'm center punching it, and we're gonna drill it, and we're gonna be right back. Alright, so we're back real quick. Haven't had my coffee yet, but drilled the hole, and the holes line up. So now the key is, you know, grind the right shape, and then I'm gonna have to bend it a little bit, and I'm gonna have to grind it a little bit to line up with that hole. So want to be careful if you do something silly, or if you turn this thing around backwards, or do something weird, it's square one. So coffee break, and then back to it. Okay, we're back. So I got the rough shape traced out. I used this as a little guide to kind of get the shape kind of decent, and drill, you know, this has got to be all cut away and ground away. And yeah, I know what it looks like, but get your mind out of the gutter, get back to work. People, come on. So yeah, so that's, I'm gonna cut it, and it's gonna be, yeah, it's gonna be some more work. So back to work. Okay, so it's a couple hours later, and I didn't really run into any problems to speak of. I mean, it's done. I didn't do like a super duper, you know, finish on it, because I don't think my sister-in-law is going to care what the finish is on a piece of steel on her bike that she never looks at. So it's, you know, I gave it a little, but I mean, I just wanted to make sure, you know, you always want to make sure these mating surfaces, you don't want to get too crazy, you know, grinding that off, because it's got to mount, you know, flat to a bolt. And if you're wondering why this thing is on backwards, it's just easier to test fit the bracket on this side, because otherwise every time you test fit, you got to fish it around all these, you know, cables and unpin this plug, and it's just, you know, it just saves time. You know, pull the filing bench close to where you got to test fit it. I mean, that saved me, God, at least 15-20 minutes. So, and so it's like 1:30 in the afternoon, Saturday, March 16th, and so I'm just gonna you know, flip the wheel around and see what it looks like. Okay, so we're back. We got the wheel flipped around, and we got the bracket on, and so the little actual, I was using a piece of I was using this piece of you know, plumber strap. You know, it's something that you use to strap plumbing up to the I'm sure I got plumbing strap. Anyway, so it's everything works. I mean, the kickstand, there's plenty of room to do its thing. I can actually even move the kickstand a little bit more if I need to, but that's plenty of room. And this thing is plenty strong. I ground more material off than I should have. Usually I have a little hump, you know, over here, and I ground too much. But man, this thing is 1095 carbon steel. This thing is not going to bend. This is going to handle every bit of torque that this motor can deliver. And of course there's another problem. So I'll show you what it is here as soon as I get the angle set up. Problem? I didn't say there was a problem. No, man, no problem. I don't even know. It'd be too hard to explain what I thought the problem was. It's non-existent. So the next step is just start. Well, I think that the next step will be hooking up the electronics, because you can test run this thing without hooking up any of the chain and the drivetrain and any of that stuff. So I'm gonna actually flip this thing back around and figure out our next step back in flash. Okay, we got it back up on the rack. So I think we're gonna tie this thing off for today. It's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. 2 o'clock. Okay, 2 o'clock. Oh man, what am I thinking? No, I think this is it for today. And I'm gonna post this. And that's a big step, a lot of work, big milestone in the build, because then you can just, you know, it's mechanically ready to go. And so I think the next step that I'm going to do this weekend is I'm going to do some metal grinding of this type on my trike. It's not quite near that intricate, but I got to get it done. And that's a good thing to do on a Sunday. I can piecemeal the rest of this bike, you know, during the work week, after work, here and there, but grinding is a whole different deal. So this is it for now. But things are going good. Again, I think the next step is just starting to hook up the controls and the wiring and test the motor. So till next time.